Good afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Jew Jets Show. Today we're talking about the wide receiver trade market, Bryce Huff, comp picks. So without any hesitation, let's get it started. So first off, Jerry Jeudy has finally been traded. He's sent to the Cleveland Browns for a 2024 5th and 6th round pick. Jerry Jeudy was reportedly receiving interest from the Jets and Patriots as well, but the Browns were the team that ended up pulling the trigger. So I do think it's interesting the Jets were interested in Jerry Jeudy because it signals that they're trying to trade for a wide receiver. They're trying to get actively involved in this market, which they actually should be. And I do think that the next receiver that's traded very well could end up being to the New York Jets. Now, who is that next wide receiver going to be? Very well could be Jeudy's teammate Courtland Sutton. Earlier in the week, it was reported that the Broncos were interested in trading Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. Now, maybe they only wanted to move on from one of them because it would be pretty big to lose both receivers in the same offseason and having to start fresh at the position. But maybe the Broncos are going in an entirely new direction. Maybe they're interested in doing that buy or sell and just starting fresh. I mean, they cut all-pro safety Justin Simmons, who's still playing at an extremely high level. So, yeah, it does seem like they are going in that new direction, and maybe Courtland Sutton's not a part of that. And if he is traded, I do think the New York Jets are a team that makes a lot of sense for him. I definitely think the Jets would offer potentially a 4th round pick to get Courtland Sutton. But if not, another receiver that you could see traded is, of course, Deontay Johnson, who the Steelers have reportedly been receiving calls about and have been answering those calls. Earlier in the week, it was also reported that he was receiving some trade interest. So the Deontay Johnson trade scheme is starting to pick up, and I do think it's New York Jets would also be another team that makes a lot of sense for Deontay Johnson. I mean, he's someone that has been a very consistent wide receiver throughout his NFL career. He's not exactly putting up those number one type stats, but he's a very good wide receiver number 2. He's kind of like a high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1 type player, and that would be a perfect fit for this Jets offense because we need someone to complement Garrett Wilson, and Deontay Johnson would be the perfect complement for him. So if he is, of course, traded, definitely hope the New York Jets are the team where he lands. But on to some not so positive news. It sounds like Bryce Huff is going to be leaving the New York Jets. Now, we've been anticipating this since the Patriots game in Week 18. It just hasn't seemed likely that Bryce Huff was going to return to the New York Jets. But today it was reported that Bryce Huff is going to be receiving a robust market this offseason, and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be one of the first teams to make a call for Bryce Huff. Now, this is according to Diana Rossini. So, Bryce Huff is probably going to be going to the former NFC champions, going to be receiving $16 million a year. And on top of that, the Eagles also have been interested in trading Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens at the Philadelphia Eagles edge room this offseason. If they end up signing Bryce Huff, what his contract is going to end up looking like. And he's probably going to get close to $16 million a year from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I do think that's why the New York Jets didn't want to re-sign him, because the Jets just don't want to pay Bryce Huff that money. They don't want to give him a contract similar to what Carl Lawson got a few years ago, because we have needs on the offensive side of the ball, and we would much rather spend those money on an offensive lineman, on a wide receiver, instead of giving it to another edge rusher, which I do think is a bit sad because, Bryce Huff is such a great player, and if we could have re-signed him just last offseason for a lot cheaper, we wouldn't even be in the situation right now. But it just is what it is. Bryce Huff, sadly, not going to be a New York Jet next season, but hopefully he has a ton of luck in his future. And I guess a positive of this all is if he does end up signing with the Eagles, he's not going to be wrecking havoc in the AFC conference. And the last thing we're going to be talking about is the New York Jets landing 3 comp picks in this year's NFL draft. So they awarded 1 6th round pick, which comes in at 218, and 2 7th round picks, which are the last 2 picks in this year's NFL draft. 256 and 257. So I do think it's pretty cool that the New York Jets were able to land Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in this year's NFL draft, or the last pick in every NFL draft. And I mean, normally Mr. Irrelevant doesn't turn out to anything. I mean, recent cases like Brock Purdy say otherwise, but it's just always cool whenever your team has Mr. Irrelevant because it's just a fun and awesome pick. And the last time the Jets had Mr. Irrelevant was back in 1969. Yeah, it's been that long ago, and they picked defensive tackle Fred Zirkle, who never even played a snap in the NFL. I mean, so yeah, there's that. But maybe the New York Jets can find themselves their own Brock Purdy in this year's NFL draft. And if they don't select a quarterback with the last pick in the draft, I know a lot of people are going to be angry. But that's all we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Free agency starts Monday. Who knows how this craziness is going to play out, but I'm your host, signing off for now. See you guys later. Peace.